Have you wondered what's involved in being on the TEDx stage? In tonight's presentation, Jim will explore some of the differences between a Toastmaster speech and a TED Talk. Please help me welcome ATM Gold, PM3, EH2, VC1, and EIEIO, Jim Barber.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. My fellow Toastmasters, our most welcome guests this evening. As many of you know, I was on the TEDx stage a few weeks ago, TEDx Miramar. And many people have indicated an interest since then and before of what TED involved and what the TEDx stage was like and how it differed from Toastmasters, because we're both basically kind of in the same organization, same sort of thing. We're involved in speaking, but it is different. Tonight I want to address one of the main differences between the two, and that is what you say and how you say it. Here at Toastmasters, we're pretty relaxed about what you say. You can, as long as you don't talk about religion, you don't talk about politics, you can basically talk about anything. You can talk about kayaking, you can talk about your favorite vacation, you can talk about bees, you can talk about all kinds of things, and it's okay. But what we want you to do is to talk perfectly. We don't want you to have any ums and ahs. We don't want you to use incorrect grammar. We don't want you to do things improperly. We want you to present whatever it is, we want you to present it perfectly. TED is different. And TEDx, which is the local version of TED, is different. There, they are very concerned with what you say. Not your content necessarily. You can talk about bees, that's fine, but they want what you say to be true. Now that's particularly appropriate during this election year, because if you've turned on the TV, you've probably noticed a politician saying something, or at least a candidate for office saying something, and there's a fair chance that what they're saying is somewhat, to some degree, incorrect. And so the TV stations have fact checkers to go through and say, well, this wasn't true, and this is a little bit true, and well, no, this was a whopper, and so on like that. But the problem is nobody listens to the fact checkers. So when a candidate says something, it generally goes unchallenged. TED doesn't want to get into that predicament. So they fact check your speech before you give it. That means that you have to write your speech word for word before you ever give it, submit it to them. They fact check it. They go through it and see, is this okay? Are the quotations correct? Are the statistics correct? Are these facts verifiable facts? And if they are, then you are given permission to give that speech. Of course, you have to give the speech that you turned in, because if you turn in a speech to be fact-checked and you get up there and you say something different, they have to go back and fact-check it again to see if any of the changes that you made don't work. So you have to basically memorize your presentation before you get up there and give it. That's okay. Unlike Toastmasters, where it's a 5 to 7 minute presentation, TEDx presentations can be up to 18 minutes. My presentation was about 15. They want it to be generally in the 12 to 15 minute range. And so I needed to write, it wasn't a problem, and memorize, this was a problem, a 12 to 15 minute presentation. Now, a few years ago, I could memorize a 15-minute presentation. Piece of cake, not a problem at all. I did a TEDx 8 years ago. It was challenging to memorize a 15-minute presentation, but I was able to do it. As we approached the time of this year's TEDx, I was concerned. I was downright worried because I was having trouble memorizing. I would memorize something, but it was like putting things on a table that's too small to hold everything. The more things I put on, things fell off on the other side. And I would memorize something new, but I would forget something that I had memorized before. I hoped that the night of the event, that the adrenaline and the pressure would come to my rescue and everything would be okay. It didn't. I got up in front of the group, had my presentation memorized, and had the Toastmasters nightmare. I forgot what I was saying. Couple of times, might have been 3 times, I don't remember. But it was okay because my coach, we each have a coach, my coach was sitting down right in front, and she was following word for word. And when I would forget what I was doing, she could prompt me and just tell me what I'm going to do. And since the whole idea is to get this out on YouTube, that's okay because they can edit out the prompting part and it looks seamless. It doesn't look like I've forgotten anything. So that was okay. Forgetting it isn't horrible. It's embarrassing, but it isn't the end of the world, which is fortunate because I did. I plain forgot what I was doing. But I handled it differently than you might normally do. What I did was when I realized what I was not doing, what I couldn't remember the next thing to say, I turned to the audience and I told them, I don't remember what I'm talking about. I don't remember my next line. And I had a conversation with them for a few moments before I went back to the speech that I had prepared. Did Ted care? Not in the least. Not in the least, because they can take that part out, edit that part out. The rest of my speech was prepared, was given exactly the way that I prepared it. But the primary difference between Toastmasters and TED is that in Toastmasters, we dwell on perfection. We aspire for perfection. And at TED, they aspire for connection. They don't care if you're perfect, but they want you to connect with the audience. And I was able to do that. So I guess my message to you is if you've ever thought about getting up on the TEDx stage, go ahead and do it. Even if you forget what you're doing, it's not the end of the world. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Jim.